Hello there. Welcome back. Thank you for coming back. Hopefully you're listening. Hopefully you're engaged. Hopefully you're almost as fired up as we are and you're like, okay, what do I do now? So just one thing to circle back. Heidi mentioned about an instance in the high school. If you have a project that might bring to light things that aren't going to make people happy, they're not going to make them feel proud of, any things that happened historically, and that gets shut down, then what do you do? We're always, whenever we're having Bridge the Divide meetings, or, it's always, so what do we do now? So what are things you could do about that? You could set up a meeting thinking you're going to be the only person. It's always hard to set up a meeting and I'm going to tell you all that happened and you're going to say, no, that's not what it is. It had nothing to do with race. Okay. But so what do? You have a meeting, you have a discussion. Do you have to bring in friends because you're being gaslighted? Because that's what happens. You have to bring in 5 other people that can support your point to get to prove to somebody that something is not quite equitable or that the reasons why you did something. I don't know what else.
Voices. I mean, think about when the letter was written in Cedarburg and a couple hundred people came out for the peace rally.
Right. Yeah.
And the mayor was there and heard from a lot of voices that we're not okay with this. So I think the more voices that the schools hear and other institutions who aren't particularly open to change at this point, I think they need to hear more of us. And I think social media could be a tool too. Right. Going on, telling your story.
Right. If not used as an attack.
Yeah.
If used as a tool, it can be used as a tool. And with what happened with Shannon and Devin and their letter that they received, even that we saw so much on social media saying, but that's not who we are. Well, okay, except that happened here in your town on your watch. So which is more important, that everybody knows it wasn't you or that everybody pitches in to figure out how not to have that attitude be so pervasive? Because one letter is a representation of 1,000 attitudes. Don't make the mistake of saying there's one person that thought like that. Everybody else does not. There are people that do. There are people that decide, I'm not going to show my card, so I'm not going to write a letter that everybody knows. But in their actions, if there's a person of authority at the workplace, is it affecting how they hire people, who they hire, who gets promoted, how they interact with people that don't look like them? It's a bigger, broader thing. It's not that one thing.
Things are often done under the guise of something good. So like in academics, we'll say we have equitable admission practices, which means that if your history wasn't as equitable, like if you grew up in the MPS school system and your writing is way poorer than somebody who grew up in a better school system, we're going to let the people who have the best scores in. Like, so you call it equity, but it's actually to the detriment of people that didn't have the same opportunities growing up.
Right. Because equity would mean you go back and make sure everybody has the same opportunities. If it's about money, if it's about instruction, if it's about books, if it's about other opportunities, you go back and make sure it's all equal. You don't just dip your foot in the pond and go, okay, well, I did that one thing. You didn't change the system. We've got to change the systems.
It's a systems problem. It's a systems definition that we use for racism. It is not you wearing a Ku Klux Klan hood or saying mean things to people with different skin colors. That is not racism. It's systemic. It's a systems problem. It needs systems fixes. And a systems look at things is understanding the interrelatedness of the parts of a whole. It's not just looking at one thing. You have to have a systems perspective.
And you don't look at if you're truly researching how to fix something, you don't look at it today and go, aha, I know how it is. You've got to look back, the historical process, how it got that way, what things happened, because you have to dig down to change those things. You can't say that what happened in Reconstruction. I'll bring that up because we're going to do a Zoom. The final series of our Reconstruction series is going to happen this Sunday at 5. You have to look at what happened during Reconstruction and look at just how the process happened, how the sausage got made, right?
Some people need the definition of that, I think. Reconstruction.
Oh, so Reconstruction in what we're watching a series called Reconstruction. I think it's called America After the Civil War, and by Henry Louis Gates is the one that's doing this documentary. And there was a period of time, it was like 12 years or so, in the late 1870s, 1860s, 1870s, where African Americans were in legislature. They had authority in how things, supposed, I guess, authority in how things happened that they had never had before. That you have black people that are the senators, that are in the House of Representatives, that are,
owning some land,
newly free from slavery, some locked down and sharecropping, but owning land, having stores, building a life outside of the 250 years of, no life of being owned and being property. And that little glimpse of how things could have changed, like permanently. And then as soon as the people that were in power, as soon as the white majority could figure out how to shut that down and not let that grow, they did. I mean, some of that is physical violence. If you shoot the people who are going to grow up to be the senators and representatives and run the town, well, then they can't. Some of it is things that I feel like I see now, very insidious.
How you change the laws.
Yeah, right.
Like land ownership. They made it nearly impossible. They intimidated what are the name of the soldiers? The land management. The guys that went around to try to help establish land for African Americans. And then the white people were like intimidating those soldiers.
Right.
Those white soldiers.
Right.
The newspaper that the black woman owned, what was her name?
Ida B. Wells.
Yes, Ida Wells.
Again, having to stand up and say when you see wrong, not once, every time. Because if you do it once, then people will say, well, it was just that one time. It's not a big deal. You have to do it every time. And without support.
We're just not that different now. We just have other words and phrases and reasons for the way we redistrict voting, maps, or we're still doing everything under this false pretense of what is it? What is the word? Like we're civilized and sophisticated and we're fair. When we're not. Have we made some progress?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, we have. But it was not that long ago, 40 years for some of these laws, like the end of the 1960s for fair housing.
Right.
And that's just a law that it takes forever for the culture to change.
Right.
And the culture still hasn't changed all the way.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So
I don't know. So fix it. There's the thing. Fix it in whatever you have a sphere of influence.
I mean, I think that's what we keep coming back to.
Whatever that is.
Where you work with your kids, the people you talk to, that is how it's going to change. If you are on government councils, great.
Right.
If you have a voice anywhere, use it. Use it to ask questions and to stimulate people's curiosity.
Right. And as a black woman, I know from daily experience, asking questions, challenging a narrative, challenging a stance always gets me labeled the angry black woman. Just because I'm challenging what I see or what I hear, it doesn't mean I'm angry. I'm not an angry person. I am passionate. I try to be very consistent, which I think comes across. It's the nagging. It's the Why are you always calling that out? Because I have to. If you're not going to, I have to call it out. And calling it out doesn't mean that I'm saying you're not a nice person, that you're not a good person, that we don't live in a good town, that neighbors are generally friendly people. Okay, both and.
Yep.
It is that and there is this bad thing that happened and this ugly thing that happened and this conversation that I heard. You still have to call it out. And I think that the more consistently that we do that, the people who don't believe it to be true can then see, oh, that's like the fourth time I've heard that. Yep. That's the third time that's happened here. Yep. So if you keep doing it and more people are doing it, calling it out, saying something about it, I think it will help people recognize it still can't control anybody. You don't know what they're going to do with that information. But, I never said that I could control anybody else. I can't control how you think. I can't control what you do. I can control what I do, and I'm going to keep sharing the information and keep bringing it up and keep speaking truth to power.
That is what pioneers and trailblazers always have to do.
Yeah.
You always... You see things before other people see them.
Yeah.
And that is a burden you have to carry. And I'm sorry. And I don't like it. And thank you.
Love you. High five loves across the room. Yes. So bringing up things that we have seen and heard. We talked about Shannon and Devin here locally. We talked about Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia. There was another video. I did not get this man's name, of a person that was delivering either furniture or appliances in a gated community. And one neighbor blocked the road and stopped and just said, I just want to know how you got in here. What are you doing? I'm driving a delivery truck and I'm delivering stuff. Well, how'd you get in? The same way everybody else get. Who gave you the code? Like, why is that okay behavior? I think that's we're not talking about when you see somebody commit a crime. I see you shoplift in the store and I feel like I want to confront you, and that person will not be me, but somebody may want to confront you to say, I saw that you took that thing and that's wrong, and I demand that you put it back. Again, it's a call the police if you think somebody has done something wrong. I still think that you watch and you pay attention and you to make sure that things go the way they're supposed to go, to be a witness, to be an ally, to make sure that everything is going well. But you don't stop a truck that's in your neighborhood because there's a big black guy in the truck and go, what are you doing here? You mean, what am I doing with my uniform on in my delivery truck, doing my job? Yeah, that. And then have another person show up. Yeah, well, all you have to do, listen, dumb black man, to the smart white man telling you, all you have to do is give me the information I want and we'll let you go. What do you mean? Let me go from doing my job and you're unlawfully stop. I don't understand. And I think that's what gets me so fired up. You had absolutely no right to stop him. You had absolutely no right to demand those answers from him. And he had absolutely all the right to not answer them.
Right.
I'm not doing anything wrong. Why do I have to answer your questions? Because what? You need to let me go. I'm working, doing my job. And I think that one ended up, thankfully, I'm so grateful that it was the person that he delivered to finally showed up and told them that he received a delivery and that it was okay to let that guy go. And then they moved their car from in front of him, and he was able to drive out. So that's nice. Do you want me to listen to people to say, yeah, well, at least everything was fine? It shouldn't have happened in the first place. That's where the outrage is. It shouldn't have happened. You should not have to defend yourself for doing your job because somebody doesn't think you belong there. And you say it's not about race. I mean, was this the first ever delivery truck in that neighborhood?
Right.
Or was it the first time that people are on heightened alert and see a black guy pulling up in a truck and are nervous.
It's just every day, as a Black person in America, you have to face things that white people don't have to face. In every way, I'm sure. Every way.
And I think that's one of the big things that the reason why I agree to tell stories, the reason why I agree to speak out sometimes is to get people to understand that I am not negating your experience any more than the next person, but I need you to know that our experiences are different. The skin that I live in gives me a different experience than you've had. And when I tell you things, unless you have a reason to think that I, as a person, am not trustworthy, honest, then why would you not believe something that I tell you? And I think that's why I keep talking, because I don't see an instant reaction that says, "Ooh, Erica said it. It is so. Let's go change the world." I mean, that'd be nice. We can try that out. That I might tell myself that if it makes me feel better every now and again. But the reason why I keep talking is really praying that somebody hears it, that it clicks. If it only clicks with 10 people, that's 10 more people than it clicked with yesterday. And then when the next thing happens, maybe they'll see it with a different set of eyes. And maybe that will be because we talked about it a little bit and they had some of the awareness that they didn't have before. And that's why I keep doing it, because otherwise it's really, really frustrating. There's not a change that you see. There's not some instant, see, look, we fixed racism. All done. You don't see that change. It's a constant, but maybe a couple more people will see or hear something in a different way because we had the conversation. Maybe not.
That's a lot of work you're willing to do for small amounts of change over time. Probably because you know that if nothing is done, it will not change. But day after day, that probably gets really tiring.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I
bit.
watch you. I watch the pace at which you do things.
Yes. And there is, for right now, there is enough energy, there is enough support, there is enough minute change that I can see that allows me to keep doing it. I can't say for how long that would be.
Right.
You know, because how long do you really, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. How long do you do it? You either break your head through the wall and now your head's broken, or you just stop and walk away because it's too much.
You just get too tired, burned out.
Yep. Yep.
We are in it with you.
I like it. I'll take it.
Should I do a plug for book club?
Oh, book club. Yes.
So I've invited on Facebook and in our newsletter, this Thursday night, May 21st at 7 p.m., we are going to do a Zoom book club on the immortal life of Henrietta Lacks. And it's the story of the HeLa cells that were taken from Henrietta when she was full of cancer. And without her permission, some cells were taken from her body. And they ended up being immortal cells, meaning they just kept dividing. And scientists took them, and they have been used all over the world for all kinds of things. But there's a lot of justice issues in the book. What is it, what did it mean to be a Black person without a voice in the 50s and then beyond? Like the profits of these cells have been, I haven't gotten to the numbers yet, but I'm anticipating they're going to be really high because these cells have been used for all sorts of research, scientific research, and the family was never told about things, and just, hearing their story and where they came from and issues of race, and just, it's a really powerful story. I'm only maybe halfway through, but I will be done by Thursday.
Okay.
and leading the discussion for us Thursday night. So we'd love to have any of you join, even if you can only read about the book and you want to just jump in.
It will still be good conversation. You don't have to have read the entire thing to participate.
Right. So,
but you do have to let us know. You've got to send us an email, and we're emailing you out the Zoom link.
At Bridge the Divide Seaberg at gmail.com.
That's us. What else are we doing? We're doing Bridge the Divide Reads.
Oh, yep.
And to that same email, we are looking for folks that want to read part of a story. We're new, kind of foraying into reading books online, and so you can't read the entire story to us, but if you can pick out your favorite parts and read to us, because we're still in the land of isolation and quarantine, and we would typically be doing a book drive around this time. Every year we've been doing a book drive, so this was kind of our consolation prize, that we can have people enjoy seeing folks read books. And if you send it to us at the email address, bridgesthedivideseaberg@gmail.com, we can put that on our Facebook page, and at some point we'll get it to our website.
Yeah.
I don't know, for an IT person, I can't always do ITE stuff.
What's E?
ITE? IT-ish, IT-like stuff.
I just didn't get the E. Okay. I can't do any of it.
I've only had one cup of coffee.
It makes my brain shut off. Hey, it's free today at Fiddleheads.
Coffee?
Yeah.
So what? So we can all go in there at the same time?
Outside. It's outside. You go up to the window.
Okay, I'm like,
No, you go up to the window and just say, I want my free coffee right there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I do that.
Okay, good. It's I don't know that anyone knows we're doing this right now.
Oh.
And that's why we're not getting live.
Yeah, nobody's calling. I know people have opinions.
We had 12 listeners.
Okay. That's good. We'll take that.
If they stayed, we'll see.
Well,
We might have scared 'em off.
The good thing is this is still a podcast, so we'll still get the entire thing downloaded, and it'll be on the CPL website. It'll be on the Facebook page, and then we'll get it on the Bridge the Divide website, so people can listen afterwards.
It's been a while, and people, if
Yeah. And it's the middle of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to take off work.
Right.
So I wouldn't have typically been listening at 9 o'clock either.
People, we've been a little out of the loop
Yeah.
due to all the things.
Yeah.
But we're back.
Yeah.
We're trying to
We want
figure
to
out some consistency here. But too much to think about and talk about. Do we want to leave with Breonna? Or
Yeah. No, let's talk about what happened with her.
Yeah. So she, I got to get my story
I don't know what
straight.
state. Yeah, I can't remember what state that was. She was because she also has now been.
Oh, it was Kentucky,
killed by
Louisville,
somebody.
Kentucky.
Okay.
She was shot fatally in her home at the hands of the Louisville Police Department. And she wasn't alone. So the police were going to do a no-knock search warrant where they just go in the house.
Oh, you can do that?
I guess.
Oh. Eek.
And I guess there was some some questions about drugs and her house. Like if somebody, like there was another house that had a lot of drugs made, or the question was, were the drugs and or money being stored at her house?
Okay.
But she is an EMT, was an EMT, was an EMT. Her boyfriend, 27-year-old gentleman, let's see, I know it was Kenneth Walker. That's his name.
And I think that he is Kentucky an open carry state, so he had a weapon in his home.
In her home with, he was there with her.
Right.
And the police come in. The police say they knocked. The family.
They knocked for the no-knock warrant?
Uh-huh. And the right? Erica's laughing.
Sorry.
And said something, and the family and witnesses said no. And then when they stormed into the home, they were not in uniform. They were plain clothes, and he thought that they were being burglarized. And so he shot a police officer that he thought was an intruder, and then they let fire, like just
three officers, right? I want to say it was three that are on leave. So I don't know if all three fired.
Yeah, three are on leave now.
Okay, all the shots in all the directions. They said there were bullets everywhere. And
she had like 8.
Yep, she got shot 8 times, and I think she was in the bed. I don't know if she was asleep. She was in the bed, and she got shot 8 times.
And he is now in trouble for potential felony or murdering a police officer.
The police officer died?
No. Oh, wait. Shooting. Sorry,
okay.
Shooting.
I feel like we would have heard more about it if the police officer died.
I think it was like attempted murder.
Okay. All right. So
I'll find the.
So here we have. There are folks that are much more fans of weapons than I am. Mm-hmm. But you are in your home with a weapon that presumably you have the right to own in your home at nighttime. I mean, if she was an EMT, she could have been working night shift and it was daytime, so I'm not sure. But someone that comes into your house that has not identified themselves as police, not dressed as police, and you are afraid for your life, say it ain't so, and you shoot. Interesting. So the couple of things that I have that I struggle with, and just because I struggle with them doesn't mean everybody does. Doesn't mean I'm right. I like to think I'm right some of the time. But this story, if it happened to someone that was a suspected drug dealer in Cedarburg who was white in a white neighborhood and the police are coming in, is there any difference in the level of care, the level of, I don't know, accuracy? Like, would you come into Cedarburg and shoot up a house?
Right.
Would you do that? If that area, even if it's an area that has high drug activity, right? If you've come into somebody's house and they fear for their life and they shoot, how is that any different than you saying that someone else came into the house and they feared for their lives and they shot? It's not outside. It's not, I think I saw you do something a little while ago and I'm going to pull a weapon on you. You came into the house. And like always, we don't have all the details, so I don't presume to know everything that happened and all of the details.
But if you put the two stories we talked about today together with Ahmaud, and the white guys were given a benefit of the doubt for shooting. The black guy, no.
Yep.
So that right, I mean, a few different details. Sure.
Yeah.
However, it's just the relationship of the criminal justice system, especially to black men. It's just...
And I've talked about that benefit of the doubt so many times before. It's just whether you are consciously thinking it, whether it's just a fleeting thought that comes through your mind. Do you honestly, truly, if you don't say it outside to anybody else, if you say it to yourself, do you honestly give a black person the same benefits of the doubt that you give a white person in the same situation? Do you really? Because that's what we say when we're talking about how we can see, whoever is looking at an inequity and say, we see that these things aren't like this. They're not the same. They're not like each other. They're not handled the same way. You've got to honestly ask yourself, if the roles were reversed, if the same thing would happen.
If you've done no self-examination, it's hard to believe that you don't have some disparity in the way you view the different colors because of the way our institutions are in America. They have not been set up to examine our history well and to examine our biases well. We don't work through racial identity frameworks with each other. Typically, we don't figure out what race means in our life unless you're like an African American studies in college or something. So why like just be honest with yourself. You probably don't. I don't. And I'm reading a lot of stuff. It's because you've been socialized a certain way. So what do we do about that?
First of all, admitting it doesn't all of a sudden make you a bad person. You know, we talked before about the whole good, bad binary. If I am a good person, all I do is good. If I'm a bad person, all that I do is bad. That's not true. That's not true at all. You have people who do 80% of the things they do in their lives are good things, and these other couple of things are just, oh, that's not so good. That doesn't change who you are overall. But in my opinion, a big issue is, if you're such a good person, why won't you examine this? What are you afraid to see that you won't even stop for a minute and take a look? Take a look at the history. Take a look at evidence that a person of color has painstakingly laid before you in a way that they don't need to, because you need to do your own research. You need to do your own reading. You need to figure things out for yourself. But when someone has taken time to lay it in front of you and say, can you just look at this? Let's just talk about this. And you turn tail and run the other way. What is that saying? What is that? I'm not going to chase behind you and call you a racist, because it's not what I do. But what does that say? If I say, I think things are inequitable, I think that there's a problem here, let's look at it and talk it through, and you won't even talk to me about it? Because what? I'm race baiting? Or I'm trying to get to a truth that you don't want to see.
Right.
So if you go the other way, you don't have to see it. And then if you don't see it, you don't have to fix it.
Right. It's easier.
It's a lot easier.
For that person.
Right.
Not for the system.
Right. And if that person is in the majority, and the 2, 3, 5 people that are trying to get you to open your eyes a little bit are in the minority, then, you know, there's more of us than them.
That is why it's taking so long
that's why
for America to change.
It's not us, it's them. Really? Let's talk about that, shall we? Yeah. But we're going to keep doing what we do. We're going to read books together. We're going to have conversations about things that we see, you know, talking about Ahmaud Arbery, talking about Breonna Taylor, that we don't have all of the information. We're not trying to be judge and jury, but what we're trying to do is get you to open your eyes to other parts of those stories that you previously weren't willing to consider. You have to do it. You have to do it. You have to find people to talk to, that some that have the same philosophy or the same viewpoint, so that you don't get tired fighting all the time. But you also have to talk to people that don't necessarily agree with you, so that you can get some perspective. That perspective is not gained by an echo chamber.
I just imagine that for Black America, these stories are in the hundreds. And they're just carrying these stories. They're imprinted on their souls, like past
generations.
For generations. Generational trauma. Yep. I mean, that's something else we want to talk about in the future. You're just carrying these stories. And so to have white people, you know, jump in, I run for Ahmaud, 2.3 miles. That's nice, but don't leave. Don't leave the conversation.
Right.
Walk.
Right.
We have to walk together.
If that was enough to get you to jump in the conversation, great. Don't
stay.
leave.
Stay and feel the burden with, we have to do it together.
Right. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be comfortable, and you might get your feelings hurt.
I have. It's okay though.
It's, you know,
it's okay.
We can come back from it, right? We can come back from it. We can, if you don't ever engage, we're not going to get anywhere. If you engage and it stings, and then you re-engage and then it stings, and then you re-engage, we can get somewhere. We can make some progress.
To peel back the layers.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's all. I mean, you know, just little stuff. It's fine.
Now we're just going to go about our day. No big deal.
I'm going to get some free coffee.
No big deal. One thing to look forward to.
Another Friday morning where we cured racism. Check.
Woo.
Done.
Dunzo. No, I'm excited. I'm excited about where we're going.
Yeah.
I'm excited about things that I'm working on and things that you're working on and how you can just see how things maybe could take off.
What does that look like for us in the last just couple minutes? We'll be wrapping up here soon. What does growth look like for us? It's not necessarily numbers, although numbers are nice, right? If you can bring in, you know, the producer is like, how about you bring in some numbers? You know, the more people that are listening, the more people that might engage, the more people that show up for a meeting or for an event or for a book club or for a discussion, the more might get engaged. But what else? Is it just different people? I don't feel like we have, I mean, we're in Cedarburg and we talk about Cedarburg and we engage around Cedarburg, but I don't know that Cedarburg, like as a government or a police station or a school, you know, the systems that we talked about, I don't know how engaged we are with them. Is growth, even if it's one or two people, a continual conversation? If we're talking to the mayor, the police chief, the principal, the superintendent, you know, is that growth for us connecting and talking? What else does growth look like?
I mean, for me, it would be we can have those conversations in places and be okay with the hardness of it.
Yeah.
Especially in schools. To me, it's our kids. This is where we're going to change a lot, is if we raise a generation of kids that sees it. And if we are so focused on positivity to the point where you can't have self-reflection.
Right.
Like, we can't do this because that's not positive.
Right.
But you're preventing real conversations that kids need to have because that's the world out there.
And you do want them. You want them to have that in this secluded, we're not secluded, but sometimes it feels like it, you know, in this small town with people that you know, love, and trust, and have those kind of conversations and understanding before you get out into a big, big world. Yeah. That's going to be a lot harder for all other reasons.
Right.
It's hard. So if you're a teenager, if you're graduating from high school, if you're, you know, engaged here, it seems like it would be an easier transition to learn a bit and grow a bit and expand a bit here in the small place before you get out to a big place where you're going to get, you know, lost comparatively.
Yeah. I think it would be that people okay with hard conversations, and then also people owning some of their own work. So like, don't wait for Bridge the Divide to tell you what to do. Learn at Bridge the Divide and then figure out where you could fit in.
And bring it back and then share with the other people, because I guarantee there's 5 more people going, well, what could we do? Right. Oh, you did that? Can we join in doing that? Can we, you know? I think that's great.
So sharing the burden.
Yeah. And we're going to try it in some different ways. I love the podcast. We're going to try to see about gathering from stories. I know that people won't always show up in a big forum. If they do show up, they may sit quietly. They're not willing to speak out. But maybe in their homes or in a place where they're just a couple of people, they're going to be willing to tell us a story. Good story, bad story. You know, you've been in Cedarburg for 50 years. You're telling me that every story that you've had in Cedarburg has always been good, and there's never been any kind of racism that you've seen or felt?
No, Erica got a recording device. We just have to figure out how to use it. And then it can go home.
We really are smart people. I swear we are.
Smartish. But yeah, so we want a collection of stories.
Yep. We want to talk to kids.
Oh, I love kids.
We want to talk to the parents about kids, because that may be something. This is a place where people are very invested in their children.
Yes, like myself.
Yes.
Do anything for my kids.
So is it that we talk to some of those parents about how they can do these things with their kids? Maybe they're sitting on the other side nodding, going, yep, I'm going to do that. Wait, how do I do that?
What do I do? Yeah.
Well, maybe we can help with that, you know? So some of it can be with the kids directly of different ages. Some of it is with the parents.
Yeah, that's something we've been thinking a lot about. Because there's probably some curriculum somewhere, but can we come up with some sort of kid-focused talks and some educational
and
events
play and whatever, however it works.
It's on the list.
There's a big list.
There's a long list.
And I think we would like to have something over the summer where we feel kind of everybody is relaxed a bit, everybody is healthy. Don't come to anything we invite you to if you're not healthy. But that we can engage again, like in person, face to face. We've been talking to Emerald from Diverse Dining to try to figure out if we can have some kind of community meal. We've got to figure out how to heal from some of this stuff. And even if it didn't happen to you, even if you weren't involved, these are all pain points that just build up. And we've got to do the healing parts together. And that may be one of the things we try to do this summer, so we can see all of your faces. What is something I saw? I want to squish your face. I want to see your face.
Sounds like something Bethany would say.
Yes, I'm sure
Erica's
it is.
daughter.
I am sure it would be. But yeah, so we want to do all these things, and things aren't free. They need money, they need time, they need resources to help us do it. So we invite all of you to kind of join in. We're on Facebook at Bridge the Divide Community. We are on Instagram, although a lot less, at Bridge the Divide Podcast. Website, bridgethedivide.life. Have I said Bridge the Divide enough? Did you know this was Bridge the Divide? Is that all I think that's where we are. And email, bridgethedivideseaburg@gmail.com. So we invite you to join in. Thank you so much for listening, coming on this ride.
Thank you.
Thanks to the library.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks to CPL Radio. We appreciate it. All right. Until next time, folks, have a good day.